Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. As you can see behind me, and if you watch the actual title screen, I'm doing Into the Woods, and this will be episode 52. There has been a slight mini hiatus, about 5 or 6 days, where I've been learning, well, I've been learning anyway, Air and Armour. If you want to check that out, go and look at the rest of the channel. But we're back into the woods. What happened last time? We had Ruggles attacking twice. You had two activations in a row. But now we're back to Sherman. Now, in my last episode, I did do some biggish mistakes. A lot of Ruggles' command were disordered, and yet I moved them forward and attacked. You can't do that with disordered troops. Disordered troops cannot voluntarily enter or move adjacent to an enemy unit. Oops, it was a biggie. However, in the great scheme of things, I think that makes up for the amount of route checks I've been doing on the Union. Because they're meant to be having an additional route check if they retreat from fire in a second disorder case. They have an additional check. I've been doing it in the last turn, but the first few turns I didn't. So swings and roundabouts. I am playing solo. I will miss things. So overall, I think that balances out. The other thing I missed, which I did mention at the beginning of the last episode, was I wanted A.S. Johnson to activate straight after Ruggles to do his special. He can intervene with and do one brigade before the next AM chip was drawn. I then drew the Sherman chip. So again, missed that opportunity for the South, which makes up for Ruggles being really, really keen and whipping his disordered troops into combat. Let's do it as a narrative. It happens. And I do apologize for any purists out there watching this. I am making mistakes. But the overall effect, I think, balances out. So what is Sherman going to do in this turn? Well, he's got one absolutely shattered brigade, which I've sent the commander to the back. They're going to have to go into reserve status and try and recruit some of the routed. And the rest of his brigade, he's got one fresh brigade that's marching over. The other two are looking a little bit worse for wear as well. So I can't foresee many counter-attacking because he can't, because most of his troops are disordered. Learn that rule. But let's go down to the map and see what options he actually has. Okay, so there's the overall picture of the front lines. We have Sherman over this side here. I tell you what, I'm trying to get used to doing these things. There we go. Let's do it in blue. So his lines are here. And effectively here as well. Because we've got Ruggles. Let's do them in red. Yeah. Here. And we've got Claiborne here, who could come in. And that was the brigade I was going to try and activate using Mr. Johnson, who's it's a big circle, but who's there to pull into the flank. But I've missed that opportunity. I'm going to try and remember to do it at the end of Sherman's activation. So if I don't, well, what can I do as a reminder? Put a big dice sitting or something sitting in front of me saying, "Oh yes, Johnson. Oh, I've got a card. Oh, I've got one of these. I'll stick that with his name on it." There we go. So I'm sticking that somewhere close. So I can remember to look at it. Okay. Right. So that's the name of it. So what is Sherman going to do here? Is it time to pull back to this sort of line here? I'm thinking it is. So that's what we're going to try and do. Pull them back, fighting withdrawal, counting on that. Sherman actually has 4 activations this turn. He's already had one. This is actually his second one. So, yeah, we know he is going to get quite a few of them. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. Let me just see how I get rid of all that McGubbins. Must be an eraser. There it is. They are. I do like this. It's just remembering how to do it. There we go. So let's zoom in a little bit on actual Sherman. Oh, there's a little blue line there sitting there. Hold it. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit. Boom, boom. All right. So, as you can see, there's quite a few gaps in his lines. Is it worth changing the orders to advance, even though we intend to retreat? Gives us more movement points. Let's see if we can do that. Okay, so bringing up the sequence of play here. We're in the activation segment, part C. So we have a change orders phase. He'd have to change the orders by brigade rather than by the whole division. And that's a little bit risky. We've got the... Oh, gone the wrong way. I'm bringing up the actual charts and tables here. Right, so using the A card here, got the brigade order change. They need to roll 5 or higher on the D10. Otherwise, they retain their orders or lose cannon. Okay, which means they go up with the order that's printed on their counter by the brigade, which for McDowell here is cautious. The other thing I want to equate here, there are his guns. So McDowell actually, to keep those guns, we're going to be there for till the end of the turn. I don't think we can move an abandoned gun marker. Let me just double check that. No, that's not true. At the end of the turn, the abandoned one will become an abandoned 2. They have until the end of the turn to recover the morale in there or move a good order unit through there to regain the guns. So the unit in there isn't in good order, but if it rallied, then it would be. So maybe McDowell's brigade retreats last. I have to have a think of that. So is there any order changes? Now, Sherman is stacked with nobody. Individual Buckland. I think probably keep them under. Who's that? That's Race, isn't it? Oh, that's it. So even though I want to pull them back, they're not in a good position to actually pull back because these guys here are from a different division. McClellan's division. And Wraith, their commander, was taken off wounded. Not great. Not a good position to be in. But as you can see, there's a massive gap here. Ideally, we want this guy, McLaren's Marsh, to move into this position here. But they're still under this restriction, I think, which was their march orders to this position. I think they can now ignore that now that they're here. So, okay, what to do? I want them to withdraw. They're not in the best position to withdraw. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay. We'll start with well, frog in the throat. Excuse me. We'll start with McDowell. Activation by brigade. We're not going to withdraw after all. We're going to try and rally. Rallying adjacent to an enemy unit ain't a good idea. Well, it's a +1 modifier, and they're already on a +1 modifier because they're Union troops at this time of the campaign. You know what? Yes, we will withdraw them. Okay. Now, slight different from the standard rules, where if terrain costs more than one movement point, you'd have to do UDD. In this one, you don't. Okay, it's two movement points or more probably because of the nature of the terrain. So we are going to pull this guy back. So we're doing withdrawal movement, which means this guy can actually fire. So the fire occurs in this hex here before the actual unit gets to move. Okay, so we've got muskets, which are at. Bring up my. Shall I bring up the general charts and tables while we're here? The beginning of the. Yeah, here we go. Right, so we've got this way for fire. All right. So muskets adjacent is +2. Um, the terrain effects are into a wood, so that's -1. Disordered unit firing -1. So net 0 result. Okay, and there are 6 to 8 increments firing. So this is where we get to roll the dreaded dice. Okay, so it's 3. It's a straight roll. That is a D. Yeah, a D, little D. Okay. Yeah, there are 6 increments firing. A little D. So then we're out. Sorry, Dell's with them. This little activation marker. So we are looking at the current morale is 4, and there's a +1 modifier because it's a uni at this time of day. They're on an 8, so they failed. This was always going to be the risk. They're already disordered, so that's looking at the second disorder table. Let me bring that up. There we go. All right. Withdrawal movement may not enter second hex. Okay, so they only get to withdraw. Remains disordered in first hex. Does that cost equal to? Oh no, that's if they're actually doing the movement. Right, it's being fired at. My bad, wrong. Okay. Let me double check that then. Okay, so it withdraws 1 hex, then takes the effect of a. So it's no longer classed as withdrawal movement. It now takes the effect of the fire, which is, as you can see, there's so many options on here. Fire table. There we go. Lose 1 strength point and then retreat 1 to 2 hexes. So it actually makes them go quicker, but they've got to lose a strength point while they do this. So let me get a strength point marker. Right. So that unit is at 13 now, is going to be at 12. Decrease is control minus. Then rotate it. Yeah. I could do this quicker, I suppose. Right. So they ended there from the withdrawal, and then they go 1 or 2 hexes further. We want them to go one hex further. We also have to check for McDowell because he was in a hex that took a casualty. 0 is bad. Okay, so you get away with that. So lose 1 SP. Sorry, and retreat 1 to 2 hexes. Do they do an additional route check now? Yes, they do. This is the thing I've been missing. As it was from small arms fire, after the second case disorder, after any retreat, they've got to do another UDD. They pass this, fine. If they fail this, they rout. Okay. So 3. That's a pass. Morale is 4 +1 because it's the Union at this time of the day on the dice, -1 because McDowell's in the hex. So they pass. Phew. Okay. On to this regiment. They are going to do the following. Let's do a facing change with them first of all. Counterclockwise. Make sure I've gone the right way. So that's 3, 1.5. Control comma. Remember what button does what. We want to go now clockwise. The control period. Yeah, Americans period. That's a full stop. Okay, so that's still, and then they move into here. Now they are in good order, so I believe that gets rid of the abandoned guns. Let me double check, make sure I'm not making a mistake. Okay, so their guns are returned in a disordered state, and they can't do anything like rally or move until the next activation of this division. However, that infantry unit can fire. Question is, can this return fire? It's done withdrawal fire. Can it also return fire? But let's get this guy firing first. And he will be firing with, well, 6 steps with rifled muskets. Rifled muskets is +1 on the charts. And firing into the woods is -1. And that's the only modifier. Okay, high is good, remember? 4. Okay, let me get the charts and tables. So 4 with 6 steps is a little d. So let's see, he's got him around a 3. That's not great, is it? Roll a 5. Why is that not showing too well? Okay, so that's a 5. So they fail that check. They're already disordered, so it's second disorder. Means they lose a step. Decrease. As many steps remaining, and they fall back 1 to 2 hexes. Now, do they get a shot? Is a good question. As I say, they've already done withdrawal fire, but I think they get 1 shot. But I'll just double check. Okay, it does clarify it. The rules are there, they're just finding them. So it says non-phasing fire is available to units under advance and attack order. It may not be by march orders. An eligible unit may use all its SPs for each type of non-phasing fire once per enemy brigade activation. One type of phasing fire is withdrawal fire, which this unit used on them as they withdrew, and one type is return fire. It's just been fired on by that brigade, so it can actually fire. And believe it or not, I think this guy can as well, because if fired on by a phasing unit, non-phasing unit may fire back at the hex from which the phasing fire originated. No, I think he can't. All right, okay. So this guy has got, and he has his full strength up to that, so he has 6 increments disordered. So again, +2 for muskets, -1 for woods, -1 for disordered, so it's a straight roll. See if I can get this dice to actually go down the full tower. There we go. Straight roll 0. Oh, this is a problem. I play a game where 0 is high, and now I play a game, I think 0 is low. Yes, 0 is low. So straight roll with 6 increments, 0 is a D-2. Okay, on that Union unit, it's actually technically D-1. 7. Ooh, take away 1 is 6. Well, D-2 makes it a 5. Union morale at this time is 6. They pass by the skinny chin chin. Okay. That's that brigade done. McDowell's only got 2 units, 1 unit to rout off. Okay. Let's put that marker near him. Get rid of all those minor sight strings. No, not string, movement strings. Moving across the front. Okay, so we've got Buckland. All right, and this artillery. Okay, so we're going to declare the artillery is going to move, but it's going to move and fire, which is allowed to do. So we're going to fire the 6 increments of the artillery into the lead regiment here of Anderson. Moving means it gets half its movement value, and its shot is at -2. It's slightly less effective because obviously it's spending less time firing. Oh, wait a minute, it's withdrawing, isn't it? As withdrawal, it can't do withdrawal fire. Yeah. No, no. That's it's withdrawal movement. Okay, it doesn't say it's limited to infantry, but we know it can't actually fire. So, okay, so there's no firing there. Correct yourself. Um, we're going to go back, ideally 2 hexes. Now, they've got to do a morale check as they go back there because it's costing more than 2 movement points for artillery to do that. That is wooded terrain for artillery is, I believe, 3. Yes, it's 3. So it's 3 movement points to go there. And that means they've got to do UUDD. However, obviously they're morale 7 and they've got Sherman, it gives them 9. So there's only that +1 modifier that will affect them. So 9 is a fail. They retreat in perfectly good order, sir. Perfectly good order. And it's up to 2 hexes, so they're going to go back there as well. Okay, which they don't have to do UDD for. Okay, that's that artillery. Buckland himself then. They are disordered. No matter. That hex, and then that hex there. Okay. So that leaves to retreat this artillery. Now, there's infantry in the way. Can it retreat through the infantry? Okay, we don't have to use withdrawal movement with that battery because we haven't got an enemy adjacent to us, so we'll use normal movement. Now, moving through infantry. Right, it says the artillery. Infantry or cavalry units may move through artillery units, but not vice versa. The non-artillery do not UDD. So they can move through, but there's going to be a UDD on the artillery. Infantry move through artillery don't, but artillery move through infantry do. Let's move that little one away because that shows which division it's activate. Brigade it was with. It's not now really attached to a brigade, so let's delete that. Okay, so we can do 1 facing change for free. Now, well, where do we want these guns to go? Because the other option, I mean, if we don't really want to move them along the line here, we do need to get them behind the infantry to here. So can we do this? So we're going to get a free facing change. Then another one will cost 1 movement point. Then into that hex, along that trail, it is a trail. Guns along a trail is farmland, they call it here. Half other terrain hex, minimum of 1. So be 1.5 for artillery. So that's 2.5 plus going through a unit is another 2. So that's 4.5 to there. They will have enough points to get to that hex there. That's the main thing. Okay, so let's do this. Facing change. Remembering what does what. No, yeah. So that's 3. That's 1. Then to enter that hex there, as I say, using the trail is another 1.5. So that's 2.5 plus 2 for going through the units. That's 4.5 to there. Then they've got to do a UDD, and their morale is 8. Or 5, they're fine. That's 4.5. Then into there is another 3. 7.5. That gets them to there. Out of the front line. Okay. Then we have, so I'm looking for Sherman's units. These 2 units are Sherman's cavalry, which currently uh, they haven't got attack order. I think they will stay where they are. They're out of command anyway, so that's 1 less activation. So we'll keep them on A1. Sherman himself will go to A2. These little markers. And Buckland will go to A2. And McDowell will go to A2. We haven't quite finished with Sherman's brigade yet. So let's just delete that and stick that on McDowell. Get rid of that, put that there. It's the only way I could think to keep track of all this. I had to make these additional markers. How many activations? And yes, I know I make mistakes with it as well, but blimey, it is a little bit tricky remembering who, what, why, where. So that cavalry has only had 1 activation so far. Now we go up to Hildebrand, who has no units. He did have that originally that artillery, which is now directly back under Sherman's control, I suppose. And we want to pull him back even further because we want him to start actually rallying his troops when he goes into reserve status next turn. So we're just going to pull him back. Not sure to where, but probably there's a Jones's Field. Little lone officer and his staff. Yeah, we're going to have to put him into reserve status when we can. Okay. Then we have another brigade here, Stuart. They've had 1 activation so far. They're out of command, so they're only going to get one less than normal. Do we pass on this one or do we move? Now, if you notice, they're very close along this road. And ideally, we want, as I say, if we're falling back with Sherman to this sort of area here, we don't want to be going too close to these guys. So that might require a diversion. Or do we form up here? Decision. Because that will give pause to Claiborne, wouldn't it? If suddenly there's a Union brigade sitting on his flank who could activate before he does. So remember, I'm trying to think about the AS card. They're under advance orders. They can't move adjacent. Let's move them to here. Let's see how far they go, shall we? So they're in advance along the road. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So that's currently at 5 there. They're going to absorb that for 6 and then change their facing. Make sure I get the right button. There we go. That means this unit will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Absorb its extended and change its facing. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring in his extended. You know what? I didn't have to do that, did I? No, because extended columns also represents extended line. So if they stay there with their extended and change face and that then becomes extended line. we'll do that. That makes a bit more sense. Not sure why that's, oh, because of the little silly numbers. Again, I've got to put on the map to remind me where things are. Okay, so extended lines. Let me get them counters. Okay, so that's all that corrected. So you can see I've extended, changed. So when they were marching all that row in an extended column, they did about face, which then changes that into an extended line. Um, each of those regiments. That's not a bad brigade. Look at the quality, A, the size, and B, the quality of some of those units. It's not too shabby. And they remain under advance orders as such. So let's get rid of all the movement there. And that concludes Stuart's brigade. The cavalry aren't doing anything. They're staying where they are. Um, yeah, I think we're looking okay there. So the question is now, the next chip would be drawn. Does A.S. Johnson now still want to do his intervention? You know, this thing. See, I remembered. Where and when, well, when is now, but where? Okay, if you remember at the beginning of the video, I said I was tempted to use Mr. Johnson here to get Claiborne to do an activation, but he's not within command range. So we can't. So Claiborne's got to wait until his chit draw. So that's making this look quite shit. Yeah. However, what we can use Johnson to do is to get Gladden's brigade activated. And that's what we'll do. We'll use that ability. And another one of his abilities is he can change any brigade's orders to attack automatically. He may place any brigade under attack orders automatically, even if it had failed an attempt during the change orders phase. Now, let's not use that ability yet. We'll use his one ability, which is at any time after the first AM has been played, which this is, but before the next AM, but before the last AM turn of his play, there's plenty of AM still in that pool. Johnson may activate any one brigadier in his command range. Gladden, now, is he in his command range? Better double check. It looks like he is, but I double check. So he's got a command range of 10. So along this road, it's half. Yes, it is. Half, one, 1.5, two, 2.5, three, 3.5, 4. Then from there to there is another 2 or 3. So yeah, he's easily within his command range. I think this is actually representing Johnson riding all the way up to here, leaving his staff behind and saying, "Come on, boys!" In my best or least best Southern accent. I have no idea how Mr. Johnson sounded. I don't know if he was ever recorded. Well, blimey, that would be back in the days, wouldn't it? Okay. So yeah, he's going to do that. So that means I've got to mark something on the CSA order of battle. So on the chart here, you can see I've got these A.S. Johnson special abilities. We're going to be using the extra activation ability now. Okay. Throw that out of the way for the moment. So Mr. Gladden will get a first activate. Yes, it does count towards the activations he can have during the whole of the turn. But it's interceded with what we've got going on here. Now, they're under advance orders at the moment. So under the brigade or automatic, we're going to try and change their orders. And if they fail, Johnson's going to tell it, get into the attack anyway, boys. So I'm looking here at the, zoom out a bit to the, there we go, brigade order change. Okay, high is good. There's no modifier. Well, let's have a look at his own rating. There is actually a modifier. He's got a little +1 on him there. You can see the numbers. You've got N saying he's a normal commander. He's not cautious. He's not rash. 4 is his command range. That +1 is his ability to react to situations, to change his orders. So high is good. A roll of 4 becomes a 5 because of that modifier, which is change and stand. All right, so his orders are change and stand. So he's gone into attack orders. Johnson then decides, you know what? No, you're going. So the orders do change, but I had to use that ability now. Flip. So let me get back to the ability card. Where has it gone to? Right, there it is. So now we're choosing, which one is it? Oh, green units, no. Auto attack orders. There we go. So we now flip that. He's used that ability to get those boys. They were going to go, and he's, oh, I'm not sure, sir. He's saying, go! And they go. All right. So let's put Gladden with a little orders on him. There you go. What does that actually mean? We're still struggling across that stream, but it gets us there, and that means, you know, when and if Withers Brigade goes, these guys will be ready to go for it. But anyway, this unit is going to move in advance because we want him to engage this unit. So that's one into there. Is it though? No, it's crossing the wood exercise, and he's leaving the bog, so he's got to do a morale check. Rolls a 6, and morale 7. They're fine. So it's 1.5 to there, 3 into there. Whereupon they fire with their muskets into this unit here. So that's +2. The muskets firing into the woods is +1. Okay. Roll a 5, which means they now go ammo low. Just remember, it's the what ammo depleted in this, but that doesn't affect the shot. So this shot is at +1, isn't it? So 5 +1 is 6. 6 at 6 is a D +2 on that Union unit. Their morale is 5. Technically, it's a D +3 because of the Union at this time of the day. They roll an 8. They don't like it up, they disorder. They do get to fire before they disorder. So they are with rifled muskets, which is +1, and they can use prep fire because at that time they were in good order. So that's another +1, so it's +2. But they're firing into the woods is +1. So they roll a 3. And again, full stacking 3. That's a little D on the Confederate unit. They roll a 4. They take it. That's the end of that little shooting. Okay. Next, we'll have this unit crossing the stream. So into the woods is half. What? Sorry, 1.5, and across the stream, that's 2.5. And then we'll have him change his facing. Might as well have him shoot into that hex there. Okay, so that will be muskets at that range is -1. Firing into the woods and through the woods is another -2. So net -3 on that shot. They roll a 5, so they're coming ammo depleted. Okay. Ammo depleted. -3, so that becomes a 2, and there are 6 of them. That's a D -1 on that unit. Their morale is 5. So it's a straight morale check because the Union at this time of the day, they roll a 0. They're loving it. They could reaction fire change, facing change, but they're not going to because there are still lots of units from Gladden's brigade to come across. Okay, so they move into there. Perfectly acceptable. Yeah. So that's as far as they go, and they will fire again. Now, this is muskets, -1. Into the woods, through the woods, -3, and they're disordered. This is a -4 shot. With a 0, no effect. The Union unit here can fire back. Rifled muskets at 2 hex range is +1. That's the advantage of a more advanced weapon. +1. They can prep fire. No, they can't. It's only at adjacent hex. So still +1. Firing into the woods and through the woods makes it a net -1. Ooh, that's a 9. Some good shooting by the 43rd Illinois, is it? Okay. A 9 with 6 steps. Remember, it's -1, so it becomes an 8. Just double check +1. Yeah, -1. That's an 8. That's 1D plus 2. Okay. So he takes a step loss. No. Remembering what buttons do step losses. Decrease, control minus. There we go. Okay. Change its facing. Yeah. D plus 2. Okay, so low is good. No, they fail, and that's a second case disorder. Maybe they should have fired. All right. Okay, so they fall back, taking another step loss. That wasn't a good idea, was it? Decrease back into there. Okay, lesson learned. Let's move that out of the way a moment. They will go into there. They will move into there. And that is all of them moved. That's yellow. We've got some artillery. Now, can this artillery move across this bridge? There's a timing on this, and it's something dependent on how far these guys are away from that bridge. Let me just check the rules. Okay, so at the start of any first day scenario, beginning at 8 a.m. or earlier, that's what we had, the road and in-hex bridge over the Shiloh branch, hex S2610, which is that one there, okay, are not usable by units or leaders of either side until there are no Union units within 3 intervening hexes of the hex at the start of an activation. Okay, so that's the closest unit. 1, 2, 3. No. So that bridge is available. Once this condition is met, treat the road completely normal, even if Union units subsequently move closer. So the artillery can actually start to come across. So let's bring Robertson's battery. That's part of Gladden's command. Now this is, now is that a road? It says road. Then let's treat it as a road. Artillery on a road. Is 1. And it's got half in brackets. What's the half in brackets for? Just to confuse things. Oh, in march order. Artillery is never in march order, is it? It's always in advance. Well, we're going to treat it as 1 for the moment, and I'll double check that. So it's 1, 2, 3. Now, there is a restriction on within 3 hexes of an enemy unit and line of sight. 1, 2. Okay, so that's a wood hex. This unit here can see that hex. So what is the restriction? Okay, it's the running in the guns. We do want to move into there. They've got to take a UDD, effectively. Counting the amount of enemy units that can see them and have line of sight, and friendly units don't block that line of sight. Now that unit there, could he see if that unit wasn't there? So there's 1. Yes, he can. So it's a 2 modifier. 3 plus 2 is 5. Those guns are fine. They get there. All right, so how far did they move?
I'm not quite sure how to help you.
Okay, so those guns have moved. Each of those road hexes is actually 1 movement point. Okay, so that gun can now fire because it's only expended 1, 2, 3 movement points. So he will fire into that hex there. Right, so there are 4 steps of guns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, Napoleons. That's what the N stands for. Multiply tables. Too many tables. Right, ends at 1, 2, 3 hex range is at +2. They're firing through the woods, into the woods. So it's still a net +2. Now, this ground here is actually higher than that ground. Is that going to block line of sight? Okay, because let me just zoom in a little bit. Right. Let's remove the unit. So that's their hex there, their hex there. The artillery's there. Now that's, yeah, it is one elevation higher. Can he see there? I'll have to work that out. This is a non-gradual slope. Sorry, this is a gradual slope. A non-gradual slope would block. So the ground is so, yeah, it's undulating so little it's not blocking the line of sight. If that had been a non-gradual slope, as in with two elevations in it, and it would have blocked. That's my understanding. Put it in the comments if that is incorrect. Okay, so going back on the shot, so it's +2 for the guns at that range, -1 for firing into the woods, and -1, well, through the woods and into it. So they cancel out. So it's a straight shot with 4, and it's classed as firing on the small arms table. So there's 4 guns at that, and they roll a 7. That's a good shot. That's a D+2. Their morale is 5, so it's actually a net D+3 of the Union at this time of the day. They roll a 1. They're loving it. Okay, so that's that gun fired. They can't return fire because they were already fired at the unit that tried to get across. It was that unit there, wasn't it? So I think that's Gladden's. He's only got the 1 battery, I believe. Just double check, make sure I'm not missing anything over here. Who's that red dude? Yeah, okay. You should be over here. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Right, so that's fine. So we've got now one guy going into an attack there. So we have one case of shock. So let's go through the shock procedure. Okay, so designate all targets of shock. We've just done that. Perform retreat before shock. Can't because they're under attack orders. Attack a green commitment check. Okay, so we've got to see if these guys are keen to go in. Roll a 4, they are. Okay. Defender pre-shock cohesion check. So they got an out check. There's no leader in them. Unit in march mode. Unit disordered is a +1. Defenders being attacked from flank or rear. No, no, no. So it's just a +1, but we have the Union +1 occurring as well. So it's +2 on this die roll. 3 + 2 is 5. They say no. So let's see what happens to them. Okay, so pre-shock cohesion check means that they roll a UDD because they're already sorted. If they passed, so they've already done the check, got them to the second disorder. Now they roll another UDD. If they pass, they lose 1 SP and retreat 1 to 2 hexes. If they fail, they rout. Okay, there doesn't appear to be any modifier apart from Union this time. So they want 2 or less. 6, they rout. Now, with them routing, we have to also check this unit for rout. Adjacent unit routing. So they're not disordered. So it's just a straight UDD on them. Morale 5. They now disorder. Okay. So let's remove him from the table. Okay, so this unit here is eligible to advance into this hex, change its facing by one vertex, and can do what's called continued shock. If the hex a failed pre-shock cohesion check leads to all non-artillery defenders routing and all defending infantry artillery being abandoned, they can move into there and continue the shock, which obviously puts this unit into problems. Okay, so he'll move in, and can he then do a facing change? Not sure he can. And there's also those guns are a little bit of a problem. Can they do a facing change and fire? Okay, we're definitely getting into the weeds with this bit of rules. Okay, so these units can reaction facing change. That means they've got to do a UDD, and they can fire. Well, because of part of the shock procedure. Okay, but the problem is obviously is their morale. The artillery, fine. The infantry, not so fine. But we don't want to, well, what happens now? This unit changes its facing. It's allowed to do that once per hex side. It's advanced into. And let me get this correct, which is rotate clockwise. There we go. All right. So he has to shock, well, he doesn't have to, but he is going to shock these two units. This unit can now do a reaction facing change. Morale is 3. It needs 2 to be able to do so because there's a +1 modifier. They fail. Okay, let's see what happens when they fail. Second place disorder. It's a reaction movement. 9.63, making sure I'm getting the right. I say, well, I'm definitely going into the weeds here with the rules. Remember, this is exceptions or exceptions or exceptions. They do love it. So 9.63 failed. They lose a strength point and stay as is. Okay, so let's give them a strength point marker. Oh, I have to pause again because that is found it. Okay, so that then goes down to 9. What was the decrease? Control minus. There's so many things to find. It goes to 9. Right, okay. The guns. Bit more likely. They're on a morale of 8. They change facing. Can't retreat them because it says the artillery can't retreat from this position, but they can do a facing change. So they have done a facing change at that point. Again, if I'm doing this wrong, guys, put it in the comments. See, rotate counterclockwise. There we go. Okay, so they will get a reaction fire when that step comes up. Well, there's still other steps we've got to do. We're back into the green attacker commitment check. No, defender pre-shock cohesion check. This is a continued shock. That was a reaction facing check. I think they get their shot now. They do. Okay, so the guns actually get to fire. Right, so 6 steps of guns. They get a +2 modifier. Sorry, my bad. -2 modifier for doing the reaction facing change. Those guns at that range, point blank, is +3. Yeah, +3. -2 for the facing change. And -1 into the woods. So it's a 0 modifier, Union guns. They rolled a 4. 6 steps with a 4. That's a little D on the Confederate unit there. 5. They're fine. They take it. They take it. Right. Back to procedure. Right. Green attacker commitment check. They don't have to do that. They've already passed that. Defender pre-shock cohesion check. Okay. So we're checking for both of those Union units. We'll check the infantry. Unit in march mode, unit disordered. They are disordered, so that's a +1. Going to be attacked from flank or rear. It is being attacked from the flank, so it's another +1, so it's net +2. So it's +2 plus its union this time. They need a 0. 3 plus so they fail. Okay, second case disorder. Pre-shock cohesion check. They now have to do another UDD. If they pass, they lose 1 SP and they retreat 1 or 2 hexes. If they fail, they rout. 4. They failed, so they rout as well. Russ Brigade has been absolutely torn to pieces. Okay. Now, do anyone else check for a rout? Artillery aren't affected, but this cavalry unit here has to check for that rout. Its morale is 5. Was 1 plus 1 is 2, so it's not affected. Okay, so I've got to remove this unit from the board. Let me do that. You can see on here, Ray's Brigade has been completely taken out, including himself. That's not good. That's not good at all. Okay. Right. Oh, I should have put his marker underneath with him, shouldn't I? Let's just bring that back up. Okay. He has taken a step loss. Okay. And stick him underneath there. Boop. Right. And then close that down. Okay. So that leaves us here. They've still got to do their UDD. So they pass. Okay. Pre-shock reaction fire. Do they now get another shot? That is a fine question. Do they got the reaction facing change fire? I think that actually counted. But let me just double check. No, I think we fired that gun a bit too early. It's had its reaction. When it did its reaction facing change, that was it. It then waits to the defender's pre-shock reaction fire. We've just done that where it missed the shot. So now we go determine shock DRMs. This is where I use me red and me blue dice here. Okay. Now the artillery, how it's got 6 steps. How much does that actually add to the combat? I think it adds 1 per 4 from memory. So there's 2 strength points there. Okay. It might be even rounded down. Oh, blimey. This is the rules. It's all over the place. Okay, the guns, yeah, it's 1 for every 4 steps rounded down. So that's actually 1 strength point. So it's 9-to-1 odds. Okay, so let's go through this then. Odds ratio benefit, the maximum you get is 5-to-1, so it's +5 for the CSA. Any defender disordered? No. Charge benefit? No. Stacked with aggressive leader? No. As per terrain chart, we know the woods doesn't do anything. A.S. Johnson effect? No. Okay, so it's +5. Any attacker disordered? Not at this point. Attacker has no brigadier. They don't have a brigadier. He's not involved in the situation. Otherwise, he's not involved in another shock along the front. So that gives the Union 1. It says each successive continued shock. It's a -1, and it does count because this is a continued shock. They've lost a bit of, they charged, remember, this hex. So they've lost a little bit of impetus by the time they get to this hex. Okay. So that's it. So it's a net +3. Yeah, net +3. High is good. 6 + 3 is 9. Defender retreats. Defending units retreats 1 hex and then disorders. Plus attacker may or must continue shock. Okay, but they are guns. So I think they get abandoned. But let's just double check that. No, if the result had been a 10 or higher, they would have been abandoned. So they retreat and become disordered. So we retreat. Oh, I lost the chart. There it is. Defending units retreat 1 hex and then disorders. So they go back there and then disorder. Okay. Plus, attacker may or must continue, may advance, which they will do. Leave them further into the woods. Might remove that now. Okay, what happens here? Well, they will try and reaction facing change as well. Only one vertex, but it's better being attacked in the rear, isn't it? They fail. They disorder. My goodness. Whoops, that's because of that little magody there. They disorder. Now, can they retreat before shock? Probably. They could probably go here, but I'll need to check that as well. Okay, let's do that. Yes, they can. They can retreat 1 hex away from that Confederate unit, so they can actually get to there. Little A1's got in the way again. Right, that applies to. Oh, my bad. Right, so they get to there disordered. Oh, I did it the wrong way around. Right, so they were there, and they got the little A1 of them. Right, okay. Uh, mm, Continued shock. They will continue. Hit those guns again. There's no fire. They're disordered. Uh, it's straight into. They still got to do defend a pre-shock cohesion check, I believe. You go through all these steps. It does say go through the steps. Yeah, perform retreat before shock. Done that with the cavalry. Don't have to do a green commitment check. Defend a pre-shock cohesion check. Do I have to do that again? Prior to resolving shock, so each designated target stack undergoes a pre-shock. The top unit in each stack conducts a UDD. Okay, they've got to do a UDD. Their morale is 6. They don't disorder from that. They don't get a fire because they're disordered. Determine shock DRMs again. Well, we know it's 5-1. It's the best odds. Any defender disordered? Yes, that takes it to 6. No charge benefit stack. No. Per the terrain. No. Odds ratio. Attacker disordered? Not yet. Attacker has no brigadier. That is true. Attack with advance, no. Each successive continued shock. This is the second one, so that now takes it to 3. So again, it's +3. 2 + 3 is 5. Defender retreats. Defending unit retreats 1 hex and then disorders. Okay. And that ends it doesn't say it continues. So they retreat 1 hex and then disorder, which is a second case disorder for the guns. Let's see what actually happens there. Shock results table. The guns are, second case result, the guns are abandoned. So they don't, where are they abandoned? Artillery does not retreat when abandoned due to second disorder incurring during shock. Okay, so they are abandoned there. Let me sort all that out. Wow. Okay. Now, for you guys, that might have taken, I suppose it would appear about 5 minutes. That took me about half an hour to resolve, checking the rules back and forth, back and forth. Little bits here, little bits there. So I went deep into the woods there. But if I made any mistakes, I do profusely apologize. Let me know in the comments. It sort of looks right. The infantry just collapsing, the guns getting abandoned. So, yeah. What happens now with that particular unit? It's now finishes the shock. So all attacking infantry in good order are now automatically disordered. They're all over the place. So we now flip him to his disordered side. He does get a facing change. Or no, he doesn't. He didn't advance. So that's him at the present moment. Wait, he's looking behind and saying, where's the rest of the dudes? They're still stuck at the river. But the whole point of that was, well, it got rid of the race brigade, didn't it? Well done, Mr. Johnson. And if Withers goes before Clarence, Marsh might not be even able to get here to hold the line. But there is now a rupture appearing in the Union lines. So let's go to or back to the actual card draw, the draw pool. Okay, so we had Sherman. Who is going to be next? A bit. Cheatham. That's not that dramatic. That's way, 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 way back here. Okay, so we're going to have a breather, but that'll be in the next video. Let me bring this back up to the top. Well, I don't know about you, but I found that quite exciting. Yes, it took a lot of work out for me, going through the rules and such forth into the weeds, as I call it. But yeah, that was quite dramatic. I mean, Sherman's activation, yeah, okay, pull him back as best as possible, but then boom, that division or brigade extra by A.S. Johnson. Okay, that'll mean he'll take a bit of a risk when it comes to the end of the turn. 0 or 1, he'll be a leader. Or it might be just 0, a leader casualty. It's when it's later in the day that my class is a bit wonky. You didn't want to hear about that anyway. All right. If you enjoyed that, please hit the like. I didn't ask at the beginning, but if you got this far and you enjoyed it, please hit the like. That was quite a lot of effort on my part. If you've got this far, that's quite a lot of effort from your watching side to get this far. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm very close to that magic 1,000. That will help me out considerably and also get it spread to more people who might enjoy this. And as always, all comments appreciated, especially as I say, that was quite intricate what was going on there. If I made any major faux pas, let me know in the comments. But until next time, guys, play games, have fun, buy internet,